into the carriage for the first time. He instantly sobered and sat back into his seat. Relieved, Brynn met the appraising eyes of their attacker. The scoundrel was still grinning. He was either mad or extremely cocky. She wondered if it wasn't a little bit of both. Neither of those would bode well for them. An arrogant criminal was dangerous. An insane one, even more so. Her gaze fell to the pistols again. Even from the carriage she could see the coiled, tensile strength in his arms. Beckett was a strapping youth, country-born and bred, and he hadn't stood a chance against his assailant. He was a hair taller and wider than the masked man, too. Of course, having a pistol aimed at his chest was likely enough to cow him. She wondered whether Colton, their driver, had suffered a worse fate, and her stomach plummeted. He had been driving them to Worthington Abbey for the Duke of Bradburn's annual ball, and had stopped the carriage to remove a fallen tree from the lane. It had been a trap, Brynn realized. "Where is our driver?" she asked, proud she'd kept a measure of strength in her voice. "Indisposed at the moment, I'm afraid," the man replied, and if not for the pistols or the mask, or the obvious fact that he was about to rob them, Brynn would have warmed at how concerned he sounded. "No displays of heroism, please," those words he'd spoken. "You're the Masked Marauder the newspapers have been writing about," Brynn said, recalling at once the numerous articles printed over the last few months. A man had been waylaying carriages in London and its environs, and according to the articles, the Masked Marauder had an unsettlingly smooth, courteous manner, while relieving his victims of their personal items. Apparently, he made the appeal of no displays of heroism at the start of each robbery. Brynn's mother's deathly frightened expression shifted to fierce disappointment. "Briannon, you know how I feel about you reading your father's newspapers. It isn't appropriate." "Mamma," Brynn said through clenched teeth. "Time and place." The masked man sighed as her mother's face resumed its prior expression. "That ridiculous name. I'd rather be called a bandit than a marauder. Now to business, if we may." He cocked the pistol, and Lady Dinsmore startled, her hands fluttering about her person like a pair of terrified birds. "If you would be so kind as to hand all of your glittery baubles to the rebellious Lady Briannon, and of course whatever is currently weighing down your money purses, I would be obliged. My lord, please do not overlook your cufflinks." Lord Dinsmore all but exploded. "Now see here, you scurrilous blackguard. If you think I'm going to give you anything more than a sound thrashing, you're—" "Papa!" Brynn cried, again reaching out to her father as he prepared to leap through the carriage door. "Papa, stop!" Beckett had scrunched his eyes in preparation for the shot to his heart. The guttering oil lamp inside the carriage showed the purple flush creeping up from her father's starched cravat as he held himself still, abandoning his rash action. He slumped back onto the bench in frustrated silence. "You should thank your daughter for possessing such rational thought," the masked man commented, amusement colouring his tone. "Then, after you hand her your belongings, that is." Lord Dinsmore continued to glower at the bandit. "Papa!" Brynn pleaded in a low voice, desperate for his safety. The bandit may have sounded like a gentleman, but Brynn sensed he knew how to use the pistols held so confidently in his grasp, and would not hesitate to do so if provoked. A cold sensation slunk down to the base of her spine as his shadowed gaze fell upon her. "Please do as he says." With relief she watched as her father reluctantly unfastened his engraved gold cufflinks and handed them over, along with the small pouch of sterling he always kept in his waistcoat pocket. He nodded at her mother, and Lady Dinsmore tutted and harumphed while shedding a magnificent amethyst necklace and matching bracelets along with several rings. Brynn swallowed, removing her gloves briefly to slip the rings from her own fingers onto the growing pile in her lap. She was relieved the folds of her cloak were still drawn tightly around her, concealing, she hoped, her most treasured possession from view. "Here," she whispered, shoving a gleaming handful toward the masked man. "You have what you want. Now let Beckett go and leave us in peace." "If you could be so kind," he said to her, stepping backward with a mocking incline of his head.